No way, logic. Toss out tradition and be ready to exceed your expectations. Man, screw cowboys and Indians. Today, we're talking about cowboys and robots. Yeehaw. Released back in 1994 on the SNES by Nuk'em, Wild Guns is a fast-paced, action-packed, and what can best be described as a 2D, fixed-plane, third-person shooter. Yeah, how many of those can you name off the top of your head? You take control of either the beautiful but deadly Annie, or her gunslinging bodyguard Clint, which both play exactly the same, as they take on the Kid family and their mechanical menaces in the name of revenge. Or something like that. The game doesn't bother to explain, so I mean, why should I? Howdy folks, Spam a D here. And while I am usually a stickler for story, you don't really need it to enjoy this game. You just need to know how to make things go boom. Wild Guns is a short game to be sure, though hey, quality over quantity, am I right? As it opens up with 4 stages that you can play through in any order, all packed to the brim with baddies. They're coming from the skies, they're coming from the seas, they're coming from the left, the right, from afar, and from under your nose. Some are small and some are massive, but they all share one common trait. They're all weak to bullets. And hey, wouldn't you know, you just happen to have a surplus. Though, I guess they do share a second common trait as well. They all look great. Wild Guns is a fantastic looking game, but not because of the great looking sprites, detailed destructible backgrounds, or that classic Wild West scenery, though that doesn't hurt. No, it's all about the spectacle. While never quite reaching the insanity of the shmup genre, Wild Guns does come dangerously close, with bullets, enemies, and explosions everywhere, and it's easy to get overwhelmed. But that's not entirely due to how much is on screen, but more of where your eyes need to be. Yeah, I've heard this one called a shooting gallery before, but I mean, come on, show of hands. Who here has been to a shooting gallery that actually shoots back? I don't much like liars. Wild Guns works like this. You control both your character and your aiming reticle, so you gotta try and keep your eyes on both. When you're not shooting, you can run left or right on a single plane, jump, and even double jump. But as soon as you start holding down that shoot button, your character is stationary, and you're in control of the reticle. Though you can double tap left or right in order to dodge roll. And right here is where I want to go off on a small tangent about the controls. So I'm playing this one on the Switch, because the SNES game is hella expensive, and this has online co-op. Plus, you know, it's free with Nintendo Online, so that's cool. And while I do actually own the official Switch SNES controller, I actually prefer the Pro controller, and here's why. Yeah, in an unexpected and clearly unintentional upgrade, the analog stick makes the reticle movement buttery smooth. Though it does make me want to move the character with the right analog and shoot with the triggers, which obviously you can't. But hey, I guess you can't have everything. Though here's hoping that the reboot does. But even with these unintentional upgrades, if you want to survive, you gotta stay on your toes. But maybe you're familiar with this old saying, the best defense is a good offense. Aside from your automatic gun, a cowboy's best friend, you've also got a few other aces up your sleeves. If enemies try to get up close, give them a good double tap of the fire button to put them in their place. And of course, where would any self-respecting buckaroo be without their lasso? Rapidly tapping the fire button will wind up your lasso, and a solid hit will leave any foe, even the bosses, momentarily stunned. Which is extra effective when playing co-op, as when done correctly, you can stun lock the bosses. Though it's not that easy. And I'm just gonna toss this out there. That is partially due to one of the minor control issues. Now you'd think that with 4 face buttons and shoulder buttons, they could have mapped either the smack or the lasso to another button, but no. It's just how you press the shoot button, as in not holding it. Not the biggest problem in the world, but it's definitely an odd choice to be sure. But of course, you couldn't call this a chaotic bullet hell shooter without a screen clearing bomb. And if that is still somehow not enough, you could always turn your foe's firepower back on them. by either returning the dynamite that they so carelessly dropped at your feet. I mean, you are a concerned, law-abiding citizen after all. Or you can utilize the game's coolest mechanic, the Vulcan Cannon. If you take a good look at the bottom of your screen, you'll notice a small gauge. Once it's been filled up, you become invincible and just unleash on these dastardly desperados. But what really makes it stand out as a mechanic is how it's charged. If you had to guess, what would you go with? Enemies destroyed? Building up as time passes? Manually charging? None of that weak sauce. It's way more hardcore. To charge your meter, you gotta shoot incoming enemy bullets right out of the air. Yeehaw, baby! But what makes this not only badass, but brilliant too, is the risk-reward system baked in. Instead of dodging incoming fire and, securing your safety, are you willing to risk it all for more power? The opportunity to change the tides? Do you think you're skilled enough to read your enemy's moves? Ask yourself, what would a real cowboy do? Well, I'll tell you what they do. They'd rock out to this game's kick-ass soundtrack. That's what. Yeah, after all, what's a badass game without badass music? Man, I never knew that a 16-bit Western genre could exist, and even if I did, I never would have guessed that it would rock this hard. Wild Gun's fast-paced and energetic tunes fit perfectly with its high-octane action and tone. It just nails it. And really, the entire game does. Aside from that minor tidbit with the controls, Wild Guns really doesn't have any downsides beyond the fact that it's kinda short. With only 5 stages, and assuming you can get through them on your first try, which you won't, but let's pretend, you could technically beat this one in less than 30 minutes. And considering you have infinite continues, you're definitely going to plow through this one pretty fast. But like I said before, quality over quantity. Wild Guns is one of those perfect little action games that's fun to pick up and play, put down for a year, and then just pick it back up again and jump right into the fun. Fast-paced action, a rocking soundtrack, awesome visuals, 2-player co-op, and a unique gameplay experience. Wild Guns for the SNES is the complete package. And while currently the cartridge is going for an insane price online, and let's not even consider in box, but being free on the Switch crushes any reason why you shouldn't give this one a go. Wild Guns comes highly recommended.